The courtroom was silent, but her eyes were screaming arrogance. She sat there, legs crossed, filing her nails like this was brunch and not the hearing that would decide the future of everything we'd built together. Her lawyer leaned in to whisper something, and she laughed, loudly. It echoed off the marble walls like a taunt. That sound. It used to make me smile. Today, it made my blood simmer. And then she saw me. I stepped into the room, clean-shaven, tailored suit, eyes sharp. Her smirk broke like glass. She blinked once, twice, as if I were a ghost. That was fair. I had vanished for 6 months. No calls, no texts, no forwarding address, just silence. And now I was back, at the very trial where she thought she'd finalize her victory lap. Flashback to that night. The night she buried the knife in my back and grinned while twisting it. It was a Wednesday. Rain. Thunder shaking the windows. I'd just gotten home from a hellish day at the restaurant. My sous chef quit, 2 shipments got delayed, and I had to cover the kitchen alone. I walked in smelling like grease and smoke, expecting maybe a glass of wine waiting for me, or just a little piece. Instead, I walked into a monologue. "You're a dead-end man, Brian," she said, arms folded, already packed suitcase by the door. I blinked. What? She didn't flinch. You. This. Us. It's all a waste of my best years. You're stuck in a stupid kitchen while the world moves on. I gave you my 20s. I'm not giving you my 30s. Her voice was ice. Not even anger. Just disgust. I opened my mouth to speak. Anything. But she raised her hand like a cop stopping traffic. Don't. I'm taking the restaurant. You can fight it, but I'll win. And then I'll ruin this whole farce of a marriage. Burn it to the ing ground. And then she left, slamming the door like a full stop. I stood there in the hallway for hours. Somewhere around 3 a.m., I picked up my wallet, my watch, and my grandfather's lighter. I didn't even pack a bag. I walked out the back door and disappeared. No note. No social media. No calls to friends. I became vapor. She thought she'd broken me, that I'd crawl back or hang myself with some kitchen towel in a motel somewhere. She didn't know I had something better, clarity. 6 months of it. And today, I wasn't just back. I was armed. She tried to whisper something to her lawyer again, but he looked confused. Because now he saw it too. My posture wasn't broken. My stare wasn't hollow. I looked like a man who'd spent half a year sharpening a knife. And today was the day I unsheathed it. She mouthed something across the courtroom. Probably, "Where the hell have you been?" Or maybe, "What are you doing here?" But all I did was sit. Calm. Patient. Watching her squirm. She didn't know it yet, but every move she made in those 6 months, I'd been watching. Every forged document. Every friendly meeting with realtors to try and sell the restaurant. Every sleazy dinner with her new boy toy investor. I had it all. She'd called me a dead-end man. But she'd forgotten that even a dead end can be the perfect place to stage a trap. And this was only the beginning. They say silence makes a man dangerous. Truth is, silence just gives you room to see everything. After I disappeared, I didn't go on some soul-searching retreat or join a monastery. I drove south, paid cash at gas stations, changed burner phones like I was running from the feds. But I wasn't running. I was watching, planning. I stayed in a friend's cabin off-grid in North Carolina, far enough from civilization that even Google Maps couldn't find me. And while she thought I was gone, licking my wounds, I was building my own war room. A laptop, a hotspot, a notebook. I didn't need a battalion. Just focus. The first breadcrumb came by accident. A bartender I used to know from the old days texted my old number, didn't know I'd dumped it. He said, "Hey, thought I saw your wife with some guy at the Astoria rooftop. They looked close. You cool." That hit like a shovel to the chest. But it also lit a fuse. I had a feeling, when someone calls you a dead-end man and packs a bag before you even walk through the door, chances are you were replaced long before she said it to your face. But now I had proof, and I needed more. So I got it. I hired a private investigator, Nathan, a friend from college who now spent his life digging through others' skeleton closets. I told him everything. And I mean everything. He didn't ask questions, just got to work. Within 2 weeks, I had a folder. A thick one. Photos of her at dinner with a guy named Trent. Typical Wall Street alpha wannabe. Designer beard. Loafers without socks. The kind of guy who orders a $400 bottle of wine and sends it back because it's too young. There were photos of her feeding him cake, leaning in close, lips brushing. One where his hand was definitely not in the safe zone under the table. Another one where they disappeared into the back of his Tesla for 38 minutes. Exactly. My guy had timestamps. Then came the real dagger, screenshots, messages, emails, voice notes. She wasn't just sleeping around. She was selling my life out piece by piece. She'd forged my signature on preliminary sale documents for the restaurant. She told Trent, "Soon it's ours. Just wait until the court finalizes the divorce. Then we cash out and move to the Keys." There was one message I played on repeat. Her voice, sultry and smug. "I'm gonna ruin him. He'll be nothing but a burned-out cook with no name on anything. I wasted my best years on that pathetic man. He doesn't even know I've already won." I sat there in the cabin with that voice playing on loop, a single glass of whiskey in my hand. Not angry, not crying, just still. She didn't just cheat on me. She bet against me, and she was loud about it, posting filtered vacation pics with captions like, "Starting my real life," while wearing jewelry I bought her. Captioning photos of expensive dinners with phrases like, "My king always feeds his queen," like she hadn't once told me my cooking smelled like poverty. But here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't hollow you. It sharpens you. While she played checkers with fake love and forged papers, I was learning chess. I called Nathan, told him to get a lawyer. A real pit bull. I wasn't going to stop the divorce. I was going to rewrite the ending. And I had one rule: no mercy. By the time the court date was set, I had all her messages printed, signed affidavits, financial records, camera footage, and one key asset: proof that the original restaurant contract she filed had my forged signature. And the look on her face when I walked into court, alive, calm, and 10 steps ahead, that was just the appetizer. She didn't expect me to speak. She thought I'd show up, tail between my legs, maybe try to grovel, try to salvage whatever scraps of dignity were left. But I wasn't here for a reunion. I was here for war. When the judge called for a recess, her lawyer stood to stretch, and she made her move, heels clicking like daggers on the polished floor as she crossed the room to me. "Brian," she said, smiling like we were old friends, "you've got some nerve showing up like that. I thought you finally accepted your fate." I didn't respond right away, just looked at her. She looked thinner, tighter, a little too done up, like she was auditioning for a role she wasn't quite ready to play. The Botox couldn't hide the venom in her eyes. "You don't get to act surprised," I said. "Not after what you pulled." Her smile didn't fade. "Oh, please, grow up. We both knew this was never going to last. You were comfortable, predictable, good for a phase." She ran her eyes over my suit. "I mean, look at you now, trying to play big shot? You don't even know how deep this game goes." I pulled out my phone, tapped a folder, held it up to her ear. It was her voice, that same recording I'd listened to in the cabin. "I'm gonna ruin him. He doesn't even know I've already won." Her face, her expression changed in microseconds. First confusion, then panic, then fury. "You recorded me," she hissed, voice low. "That's illegal." "Wrong. Nathan did. Legally. Public place, open conversation. You were careless." She clenched her jaw. "You wouldn't dare use it in court." I leaned in, voice like a whisper dipped in steel. "Try me." She stepped back like I'd slapped her. "You don't understand," she snapped. "I deserve that restaurant. I built that life with you. I was there through every failure. Every miserable year you worked yourself into the ground chasing your little culinary dream. I waited. I supported. And now that it finally matters, I'm cashing in." "You didn't support anything," I replied. "You mocked it. Mocked me. Called me a dead-end man." She crossed her arms, defensive. "Because it was true. You were boring. Predictable. Always tired. Always cooking. Never exciting. Trent made me feel alive." I smirked. "Right. That's why he calls you his tax write-off. You think he's in love? He's in business." Her nostrils flared. That one hit deep. "You don't get to judge me," she barked. "You vanished. You abandoned me." "No," I said, stepping closer. "I escaped you, and I watched you for 6 months. I watched you lie, cheat, steal. I watched you destroy everything good in your life. And for what? A leather seat in some man's Tesla and a few overpriced steaks? That's your idea of elevation." She looked like she might spit, but she didn't. She turned and stormed off, heels slicing the floor, muttering something under her breath. That was the last time we spoke directly. After that, everything went through the lawyers. Her side got quieter. Ours got stronger. Every time they submitted a demand, we responded with evidence. Every lie she tried to tell unraveled under deposition. Every accusation fell apart in her own handwriting. Her best years. She'd spent them building a case against herself without realizing it. The woman who once called me a dead-end man now looked like the one stuck at the end of a very dark road. Alone, angry, afraid. And me? I was just getting started. You think you'll feel better when the truth comes out. Like ripping the mask off a monster will somehow make it less terrifying. But the truth? The truth just sits with you. It doesn't scream. It doesn't punch you in the face. It just sits there. Quiet. Heavy. Permanent. After that confrontation in court, I walked out and sat alone on the bench outside the courthouse. Cars passed. People laughed on their phones. Life kept moving. But mine felt frozen. Like everything was covered in dust. Like even the sunlight didn't want to touch me. I replayed our entire marriage in my head. Every anniversary. Every burnt pancake Sunday morning. Every damn time I covered her bills when she wasn't feeling her best. I remembered the long nights at the restaurant when she called me 3 times in a row, whining that I didn't love her because I was choosing risotto over romance. I remembered how she used to trace circles on my chest and whisper, "We're going to be the kind of couple people envy." Turns out, they probably did envy us from the outside. And inside, I was married to a woman who measured love and luxury, not loyalty. The worst part wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't even the affair. It was realizing that she'd been planning this for months, maybe even years. Every compliment was a down payment. Every kiss was a receipt. And every time she said, "I love you," was just theater. It made me question everything. Was any of it real? Had she ever loved me? Or was I just a soft-hearted stepping stone she could stand on until something shinier came along? That kind of doubt doesn't whisper. It screams. It claws at the inside of your brain at 2 a.m. when you're staring at the ceiling, trying not to drown in what-ifs. It shows up in dreams where she's laughing while your world burns behind her. I stopped eating for days. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't even smell food without thinking of her face when she called my cooking what poor people brag about. The rage came in waves. Sometimes it hit so hard I had to pull over while driving just to scream into the steering wheel. Other times, I felt nothing. Just a cold, flat numbness that made me question if I'd ever feel anything again. But grief is a strange thing. It doesn't just come in sadness. It comes in silence. In disbelief. In anger so sharp it could slice steel. In moments where you hold a photo and don't recognize your own smile in it anymore. I started therapy. I didn't even tell Nathan or my lawyer. I just walked into a small office above a dry cleaner and spilled everything to a woman named Dr. Taylor who wore ugly glasses and didn't flinch at anything I said. And I said everything. The hurt, the self-hate, the humiliation, the nightmares, the part of me that still wanted to hear her say, "I'm sorry," the part of me that would still probably believe her if she did. Dr. Taylor didn't judge. She just listened, then asked the only question that mattered. "Do you want revenge or do you want peace?" I didn't answer right away. I couldn't, because deep down, I wanted both. I wanted her to feel every ounce of what she made me feel. I wanted her to lie awake knowing she lost a man who would have died for her. I wanted her to crumble in a courtroom and know I was the one who built that fall. But I also wanted to breathe again, to live without her voice in my head, without the weight of betrayal on my shoulders. I didn't know yet which I'd choose, but I knew one thing. She'd never see me broken again. That IT started with a text from her lawyer. "Your client is willing to renegotiate. Let us know if you're open to discussion." It took me a full minute to laugh. Not chuckle, laugh. The kind of sharp, hollow laugh you let out when a joke has gone on too long and the punchline is finally exposed as pathetic. She was slipping. I could feel it. The cracks were showing. And not just in her case, but in her image. I started hearing whispers from old mutual friends. People I hadn't talked to in years now sending cautious messages. "Hey man, didn't know everything that was going on. Just wow. If you ever need anything, reach out." One message stood out. From Laura, her old best friend. The same one she stopped talking to once she found her new crowd of investment sharks. "Brian, she's unraveling. Screaming at people in restaurants, picking fights over nothing. Even called me crying last week. Said you ruined her master plan. Just thought you should know." Master plan. That was the word she used when she told Trent she was taking the restaurant and flipping it into a Miami franchise with real capital, not culinary dreams. I didn't respond to the lawyer's message. I didn't need to. I already knew the next play. See, I had filed an emergency motion. With all the documentation we had, the forged signatures, the altered financial records, the cohabitation with her investor, our side had grounds to freeze asset control immediately. And we did. She tried to sell my restaurant. Now she couldn't even enter it. The same night the motion passed, I changed all the locks. Replaced the staff she tried to turn against me. And for the first time in a year, I stepped into my own kitchen and didn't feel like a ghost in someone else's life. It was mine again. The warmth of the oven, the sharp scent of garlic searing in butter, the clang of pans, the quiet rhythm of something that wasn't built to impress or exploit, but to create. That night, after service, I sat at the corner booth and watched my staff laugh over leftover tiramisu. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was surviving. I felt like I was winning. And she felt it too. The next morning, she called me. Blocked number. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity beat instinct. Hello. Silence. Then, her voice. Soft. Weak. Fake. Brian, can we talk? I stayed silent. I didn't mean for it to get this bad, she stammered. Trent, he was just. I was confused. I was angry. But you were everything stable in my life. I didn't realize how much I needed that until I lost it. I wanted to scream, to call her out on every lie, every message, every smug glance. But I didn't. I just said one thing. You didn't lose me. You sold me. For cheap. Then I hung up. No yelling. No closure. Just truth. That call wasn't an apology. It was fear. She saw the court rulings. She saw her name starting to rot. She wasn't reaching out to heal. She was reaching out to save face. And I wasn't going to be her safety net anymore. I wasn't the dead-end man. I was the finish line she couldn't cross. From that day on, the tone of everything changed. Her lawyer's demands shrank from aggressive to desperate. Her online posts stopped being lavish and started being vague quotes about healing and rebirth. She tried to pivot her narrative. From powerful woman escaping a toxic marriage to misunderstood wife seeking forgiveness. But the damage was done. Not just to me. To her. To the mask she wore. And for the first time, I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt ready. Because the next phase? That was going to be the reckoning. The courtroom wasn't packed, but it felt full. You could taste the tension. Thick. Cold. Electric. Like the air right before a lightning strike. Her side walked in first. 3 lawyers in suits that probably cost more than my first car. She followed, wearing white. White. The irony was so loud I almost laughed. She glanced around like she expected cameras. There were none. Only judgment, and not the kind that sat in a black robe. Then I walked in. Same calm expression. Same suit. Nothing flashy. No entourage. Just the quiet confidence of a man with the truth on his side. When the judge entered and we began, her lawyer tried one last Hail Mary. Claimed emotional distress. Claimed I abandoned her. Claimed I weaponized silence to manipulate the divorce. That was rich. But it didn't matter. Because once my lawyer stood and handed over the final folder, the whole dynamic shifted. Inside, verified documentation of forged signatures. Bank statements showing money missing from joint accounts, transferred to Trent's shell company. Photos of her and Trent entering properties she claimed she had no connection to. And best of all, audio of her telling someone over brunch, he'll never survive this. Once I have the restaurant, he's finished. The judge took one long look at the folder, then at her. Mrs. Delaney, he said, you are aware forging legal documents is a criminal offense, correct? Silence. Her lawyer stood, stammering something about context, but the judge waved him off. You didn't just betray your husband, he continued. You attempted to defraud this court. And there it was. Her face collapsed. The smug grin? Gone. The fake calm? Gone. She turned pale, hands shaking, mouth slightly open. She wasn't the ice queen anymore. She was a crumbling statue. And I was the hammer. I didn't look at her while the judge issued the rulings. I didn't need to. Full ownership of the restaurant returned to me. Frozen assets released in my favor. Fraud charges? Pending review by a separate criminal court. Divorce granted, with a restraining order. When it ended, I stood, nodded to the judge, shook my lawyer's hand. She stayed seated, didn't move, didn't speak. Her kingdom had fallen, and all she could do was stare at the pieces. Outside, the sun was sharp and warm. I stood on the courthouse steps, breathing deep for what felt like the first time in years. It was over. But more than that, I was over. Over her. Over the lies. Over the weight of trying to prove myself to someone who only ever saw me as a ladder to step on. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. Heard the verdict. You did it, brother. Drinks tonight. I smiled. Not yet. I drove to the restaurant. Walked inside. Same wood floors. Same smell of fresh herbs and heat. But it felt new. Like it had been baptized in fire and came back stronger. My head chef greeted me with a nod. We ready? I looked around. Tables full. Kitchen humming. Staff smiling. Yeah, I said. We're ready. That night, I didn't toast to revenge. I didn't drink to her downfall. I raised my glass to clarity. To peace. To freedom. And when the last guest left and I locked the doors, I stood in the middle of the restaurant she tried to steal from me and whispered the one thing I'd been dying to say since the beginning. Who's the dead end now? Rebuilding is quieter than revenge. There are no grand gestures. No explosions. Just the slow, steady process of reclaiming your life, brick by painful brick. But that's exactly what I did. In the weeks following the verdict, I poured myself into the restaurant. Not just as a business, but as a sanctuary. I redesigned the menu, gave the place a facelift, hired 2 new servers who reminded me that joy could exist in places once soaked in bitterness. The media tried to get involved. Someone leaked parts of the court documents, and headlines floated around for a bit. Chef wins back restaurant from wife's scheme. Divorce drama boils over in courtroom. I ignored all of it. I wasn't interested in clicks or clout. I was interested in peace. But peace isn't something you find. It's something you choose. And when her name popped up on my phone again, block number, same familiar mistake, I knew I had a decision to make. Let her keep clawing at the edges of my life. Or end it. Properly. I picked up. Brian, please. Just hear me out. I didn't speak. I know I was cruel, she said, her voice trembling. I was selfish, but I wasn't happy. I thought maybe if I made you the villain, it would make it easier to leave. I waited. But you didn't deserve that, she continued. I see it now. Trent's gone. The money's gone. My lawyer dropped me. Her voice cracked. I'm alone. Finally, I spoke. You were alone the whole time, Rachel. Even when you were with me. Because you never let anyone love the real you. Just the version you sold. She sobbed softly. Maybe it was real. Maybe it wasn't. Didn't matter. I don't hate you, I said. I just finally see you. And that's why I'm done. Click. No theatrics. No yelling. Just clarity. That night, I sat on the rooftop of the restaurant, drink in hand, city lights flickering below. For the first time in years, I felt like a man, not a husband, not a victim, not a survivor. Just a man, whole again. The decision to forgive doesn't come easy, but it's not always about the other person. It's about releasing yourself, letting go of the weight they strapped to your chest, and walking lighter without it. I didn't forgive Rachel for her. I forgave her for me. Because dragging hate into every room, every relationship, every new chance, it only stains everything you touch. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Her handwriting. Inside was a photo of us on our wedding day. On the back, in ink faded by what looked like tears. I was wrong. You were the best part of my life. I hope someday you believe that. I folded the photo, placed it in a drawer, and locked it. Not because I wanted to forget, but because I wanted to remember, without letting it control me. My decision was final. No going back. No reconciliation. No, maybe one day. Just forward. A few weeks after that, a woman walked into the restaurant alone. Confident, kind eyes. Ordered the duck confit. Told me it reminded her of Paris. We talked. Laughed. She didn't know anything about my past. And I didn't volunteer it. She just saw me. Not the broken man I had been. Just a chef. A man. Starting again. It's strange how quiet life gets when the chaos ends. No more court dates. No more lawyers. No more whispered lies dressed in perfume. Just the sound of your own breath in a space that finally belongs to you. That quiet. It used to scare me. I used to think silence meant failure, meant being alone, unwanted, unloved. But now I know silence can mean peace. It can mean survival. It can mean freedom. It can mean you won. Months have passed since the courtroom showdown, since the call, since the letter. Rachel vanished into the shadows she created. No more social media posts, no more cryptic quotes about growth. Just gone. And for once, I didn't chase. I didn't wonder where she went or who she was with, because it didn't matter. She could disappear, move states, change names. She could join a wellness cult in the desert for all I cared. What mattered was this: I had survived her. And not just survived, I thrived after her. The restaurant? Busier than ever. We got featured in a regional culinary magazine, called it a Phoenix story. The irony made me laugh. The rooftop garden I always dreamed of, built it. With my own hands. Got dirt under my nails. Felt like a kid again. Every morning, I pick fresh herbs before the kitchen opens. It's my ritual, my reset. A reminder that life doesn't just go on, it grows back. And that woman from the duck confit night? Her name's Claire. We've been talking. Nothing serious. No pressure. Just two people showing up without masks. She doesn't ask too many questions. Doesn't flinch when I pause mid-sentence or lose focus in a memory. She just listens. Really listens. And somehow, that's the most intimate thing I've experienced in years. One night, she asked me, if you could go back and change anything, would you? I thought about that question for a long time. The easy answer was yes. Avoid the pain. Skip the betrayal. Marry someone who didn't see me as a stepping stone. But the truth? No, I said. Because without the fire, I'd have never forged this version of myself. Without the lies, I'd have never craved truth this deeply. Without being broken, I'd have never learned how to rebuild. And that's what I'd tell anyone going through something like this. Don't rush the healing. Don't chase explanations. Don't lose yourself trying to understand them. Sometimes people betray you not because you're weak, but because they mistake your kindness for blindness. Let them. Let them dig their hole while you plant your seeds. And when it's all over, let your life be the response. Not your rage. Not your revenge. Your life. There's power in stillness. In walking away without a final word. In building a future so bright it burns their memory like morning sun through frost. Rachel once called me a dead-end man, but I was never the dead end. She was. And now? Now I don't look back in anger. I look back with gratitude. Because I made it out. Stronger. Wiser. And finally free.